Some people say they feel fireworks when they fall in love. But over time, those fireworks can dwindle to little sparklers, maybe worse. Robin Meade chatted with psychologist Wendy Walsh about ways to reignite a relationship in this Live Better Now.
We have to be realistic about our relationships. Wendy, if it is kind of lost the spark, it's kind of fizzled out, how can you really add some steam back into it?
Well, the important thing to know is that long-term monogamy is filled with hills and valleys, and there are going to be long, boring times. You have to remember, don't believe Hollywood, okay? All relationships do not stay highly sexually charged and totally romantic on the long haul.
Shake up your routine. Can you give me an example?
Human beings love structure and they love routine. Change always feels uncomfortable, but change causes us to feel a little bit excited. Go do a spa weekend together. Go take a wine tasting course together. Do something new and unique where you get to see a different side of your lover. You get to see them from a different angle.
I love your next point here, to remember the person that you fell in love with.
One of the reasons why the human courtship with romance and champagne and flowers and candles happens in our culture is because it creates sort of a sensuous experience that gets firmly planted in our memory banks that we can go back to when we need to. Either you say to your husband or wife, oh honey, remember our first date, or remember that when we did this that time. Going back to those memories takes you back to the emotional place that reminds you why you're there and why you got together in the first place.
Why is it important to have friends, no matter how many?
Well, friends are the most important ingredient to healthy psychology. Friends we use to bounce our ideas off us, to console us when we're feeling down, to reach out to when we need help.
Okay, now there are different types of friends, I guess?
People get confused because they think every friend is supposed to be a close, intimate, safe friendship. And they're not. They're different kinds of friends. We all have historical friends. You know, our best friends from childhood who we may not see for years, but when we get back together, we are reminded of who we were. Then there are friendships that are like, I call stage of life friendships. You know, maybe you're a young single girl in New York and you're running around Manhattan and you're building a career and you have some girlfriends, your roommates. Those friends also may have a degree of intimacy, but it's related to the problems associated with that stage of life.
I suppose that you want to consider yourself like the close, the intimate friend, the best friend forever. Who actually qualifies to be that person?
Intimate friends are the friends that you have trust with, that you can be completely honest with. Most importantly, you can have a fight with and get back together in the friendship. That's complete honesty.
What about our Facebook friends? I have to ask this day and age because, you know, if you look at your Facebook, you're like, hey, I have hundreds of friends.
We have to remember that Facebook friends aren't necessarily our friends, they're our audience. It's a great exchange of intellectual ideas and a great place to debate, but there's not intimacy there.
Okay, let's talk about how to make a relationship work again if it's on the fritz.
I think that most Americans are missing basic relationship tools. The first one I would say that's the most important and paramount is compassion. You have to be able to imagine the experience that your partner is having in the relationship. You have to walk in their shoes. You have to look through their eyes and imagine what they're feeling. Compassion will take you a long way in a relationship.
Okay, then you have those people who say, we never fight, we never argue, but if you do need to argue, what is fair?
Fair fighting means not being dismissive. Being dismissive is one of the most toxic ingredients in fighting. And what I mean by that is, if somebody's making a point and wants to talk, you don't shush them, you don't change the subject, you don't walk out the door. The only time I suggest walking out the door is when your communication has gotten to a point where the anger might turn into violence, or you actually can't intellectually process anymore, you're so mad. And then I suggest take a breather and a little time out.
What do you mean by shame tolerance?
The thing that makes relationships stick for the long term is vulnerability. There is power in being authentic, vulnerable, and being able to tolerate your own feelings of shame. Because the truth is, we would all love to pretend that we're the perfect prince or princess, but we're not, we're humans. But if you're pretending to be the manly man or the beautiful, sexy, feminine woman with no problems, you know, that relationship is not real and it's not gonna last.